Let's discuss today about Incinerator, and I've started this series in which I've discussed many of the machines. If you have not watched those episodes or not watched those parts, you can go and watch them down below. I'll put them in the description, or you can go and check my playlist, okay, on YouTube. Please go on YouTube and follow and watch all the videos. Okay, so let's start with Incinerator. Now on board, if you remember on board we require purifier, and purifier is purifying the oil which is there. It could be fuel oil, it could be lube oil, and all that sediments which is coming, carbon which is coming in the form of water or mixture of all those things is considered as sludge oil. So we are generating sludge oil from fuel, we are generating sludge oil from oil also because of purification. Then we also discard some old oil which is there and we replenish it with new oil. That old oil which is there is also again sludge. Then there is some kind of drains which are there for main engine, and all those drains which are there, under piston drain which is there, your stuffing box drain oil which is there, okay, any oil which is any purifier or filter which is cleaned, that oil which is drained out, that also oil goes to sludge oil tanks. For purifier we have one sludge oil tank, then we have stuffing box drain tank, we have scavenge drain tank, we have lube oil drain tanks, we have fuel oil drain tank. So all those at last we transfer it to fuel oil, at last we transfer to sludge holding tank or BSOT tank. We can have different names for that. This oil which is there is stored in this tank, and then we, instead of storing it and keeping it there only, we try to burn it in something called as an incinerator. So to burn it inside the incinerator, we also have another additional two tanks called as the waste oil tanks. So first we transfer this oil to waste oil tank. There we heat up the oil, we heat it up to 100 degrees. We try to evaporate any kind of water if it is there. Okay. After we have evaporated the water, then we will burn it inside the incinerator. To burn inside the incinerator, first we start the burner with diesel oil. Okay, we start the burner with diesel oil, we heat up the burner, we heat it up to a certain extent so that it gets hot, and then we start with sludge oil. Now if you remember, I told you sludge oil is coming from fuel oil, lube oil, so it's a mixture of everything. So what will happen is it will not burn so easily, and that's the reason we have to heat it up. We have to heat it up to 850 degrees Celsius. Only then we can start the burning of sludge oil. Now how do we start the incinerator? Incinerator is a simple machine where it's just a body which is having some amount of bricks, you have protecting the furnace fire doesn't come out. So we are having this prevention or protection done by the help of these bricks, which are special bricks which are resisting some kind of heat transfer, and that is done inside the incinerator. Now to start the incinerator, first of all we require the blowers. So blowers, what we'll do, will supply air to the burning process which is there. Also, it will help in removing any kind of unburnt fuel or some kind of previous things which are there. It will able to remove all those things out. Then secondly, what we do, we start something called as a pilot burner. Now in pilot burner, what we do, we have diesel oil which is given, and we are having two electrodes which are generating sparks. Okay, two electrodes are kept very close by. With the help of a transformer, by giving 10,000 voltage, we are going to generate a spark, and the diesel oil which is there will ignite because of that spark. Once the ignition has taken place, you are having some small flame. Then there is another main burner which is there, which is going to start burning. And at start, as I told you, stop of incinerator is always done with diesel oil. So when the burning starts, first we'll try to increase the temperature. Okay, increase the temperature slowly. We don't want to damage the refractory. Refractory, again, what I told you earlier, is basically made up of bricks. Refractory is a substance or a bricks which are protecting the fire not to come outside and damage the metal casing which is there for the incinerator. That is called a refractory. Okay, if you are having difficulty in understanding refractory, you can just Google it. Otherwise, just remember some kind of material which is there which is preventing transfer of heat or transfer of excess heat which is there. Okay, so what will happen is we are trying to heat up the diesel oil slowly. We are trying to bring up the temperature, and once we bring up the temperature up to 850 degrees, then only we can give sludge oil supply. After we give sludge oil supply, we have to make sure it burns properly. That's the reason we always have to maintain the 850 degrees Celsius which is there above that. Then again, we cannot allow it to go higher and higher. There is a limit to it because our refractory again is going to get damaged and it might not be able to do the job. So that's the reason we will have a limit of around 1200 degrees Celsius. Depends incinerator to incinerator. Some incinerators might have high temperature setting, very low alarm. So it might be around 1100 degrees Celsius. So you have to operate your temperature. You have to operate your temperature within that. So you have to operate a temperature within that. So accordingly you choose the feed and accordingly you decide how to burn. So this is what is done in an incinerator. The second machine which we have is something called as oily water separator. Now all the things which are happening inside your engine room, we are using diesel oil, we are using some kind of oil drips. There is a possibility some amount of oil will reach down, okay, will fall on the floor. And then we are having some kind of coolers, we are having some water, seawater which is there. There'll be some drains which might leak, so there is lot of water presence which could happen, okay, depending upon what kind of work is done. Okay, suppose if you have cleaned some coolers, so you have water to drink. So all these things, this water is not like clean water, because we are operating lot of machines which are having oil inside. There is a possibility this water is having some mixture of oil. So this water cannot be directly pumped out, okay, we'll have to pass it through something called as oily water separator. Now this fellow's job is what? It is making sure that oil will not be passed outside, and there is special sensor, we call it a 15 ppm monitor, and it makes sure that no water above 15 ppm is passed out. So it will keep continuously checking, and accordingly it will allow water either to pass. If it is less than 15 ppm, it can go overboard, or if it is more than 15 ppm, it is directly sent back to something to your tank. Okay, now what actually happens on board? On board we have different flows. Okay, so the drains which are there ultimately leads down to something called as a bilge well, and on the bottommost floor or the bottommost tank top which is there, we have 3 bilge tanks minimum at least. Okay, now from here whatever water collects, if water drains somewhere, if we have done some kind of work, if pump is gland is leaking or something like that, all this water gets collected in the bilge wells. From the bilge wells, with the help of bilge pump, we transfer the water to something called as a bilge holding tank. A bilge holding tank also is a capacity tank. It's around 15 to 30 meter cube depending upon the size of the ship. So this water which is there inside the tank, we have to, we cannot keep it continuously on board, because our tank limits will fill up. So we will pass it through oily water separator. That is a requirement again given by the MARPOL, which we have to follow. So there are certain other requirements also which is required for the oily water separator. Will not go into details of that. One detail is that we have to be 15 less than 15 ppm, and it has to pass through a oily water separator. So that is done by that. Now what actually happens inside the oily water separator? Oily water separator, there are a number of stages. Okay, the common oily water separator will have 2 stages of filtration. One will be, it will have some kind of stacking up done of plates, allowing it oil to separate out from water. There could be heater also involved. And the second stage, we have something called as a coalescer filter. So whatever water which has passed through first stage, if any oil was there, comes out, and then it passes through something called as a coalescer filter. Coalescer filter is designed in such a way that it will not allow anything above 15 ppm to pass through. Okay, so if it is in good condition, obviously you have to maintain very good ship also. For that you have to maintain the ship condition also very good. That is, if oil leakage is there, you remove the oil and put it in sludge tank. You don't allow it to go to bilge well. Even if it has reached there, you make sure you clean the bilge well, empty the bilge well into the sludge holding tank. So those things have to be done, but still some traces of oil can remain on the tank top or the machinery spaces. And if water is there, then water trickles it down and takes it there. There is a possibility of less amount of oil. So that is made sure that the oily water separator doesn't allow it. The design is done in that way. And today we have very good oily water separators, which are also, some of them are 4-stage oily water separator, which are able to do 5 ppm purification. We have different types of things, but we'll not go into details of that. If you want to understand oily water separator, and incinerator more in detail, you can go and check on my YouTube in detail videos which I have done. You can go and see that. So this is enough for you for answering when you're trying to join any kind of marine engineering course. This amount of knowledge is good enough. You first try to understand this only, and then you can try to understand more. If you want to understand more, you can do some research. You can search for online, or you can also go and see some other videos. Okay, till my next video, best of luck. Prepare well before you answer, and if you have reached till this point, if you have liked the video, please follow and subscribe. Till my next video, thank you.